My couch is like so comfy today, and I feel like it's never comfortable, but today it just feels really nice. Hi guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to Book It, and today we're doing another book review. Sorry, my laptop sounds like it's about to take off into outer freaking space. It's like, if you hear that, it's so loud. We are talking about a smaller known book. This is a book called Fear by Merman. It is a signed copy, and Kathy is a local artist to Cincinnati and has 2 books published. This is one, and then she has another one. I picked this up when I went to the bookstore the other day. I was at the Tome bookstore, and they had this there because yeah, and the guy told me, I wrote down, the guy told me that like was working there. He was like, oh, it's one of the best sellers for local artists or local authors. And we also discussed what kind of books I liked, and he just told me it would be really good. So I sat down last night and read the whole thing. It was a pretty quick read, but I enjoyed it, so I want to talk about it a little bit. So before I get into that, I do want to kind of talk a little bit about Kathy. She's an English professor and a private tutor. She lives with her grown daughter and 4 cats. And then it says this is her 3rd novel. I only knew she had 2, but I guess she does have 3. So Fear is, look at this cute little bookmark too. Like, look how cute. And then on the back, she has like her like, thank you. And then, her newer book, the first book that she ever wrote was Wooden Dice. I don't know. But yeah, I picked it up because I support local authors, but also I just thought it was interesting. So Fear is a dark contemporary thriller. It's based loosely on the Cincinnati Strangler. The Cincinnati Strangler was back in the 60s, like 65 and 66, maybe? Yes, and he killed 7 women during that time. So for anybody, like, that's a very sad thing. This is loosely based on it. The names are changed, the like types of women are changed, and like the story is a fictional story. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So the book follows Katie Summers, a young substitute teacher that lives in Cincinnati, and her boyfriend Trevor. Trevor and her decide to take a road trip to meet her parents out in Oregon. That's where she's from. They've been together for about 3 months, and she decides they're going to surprise her parents and not tell them they're coming, but just kind of show up so they can meet this new boyfriend and also see her. And her once romantic, really quick road trip quickly turns into the highway to hell when she realizes her boyfriend's not who she thought he was. So at the time that they leave, there's a string of murders going around. The Cincinnati Strangler is killing blonde school teachers that live in homes alone, usually. And before they leave, they see another news report that he killed again. And we learn that her boyfriend continues to discuss his fascination with this killer. And that should have been number 1 red flag. But the story unfolds. She learns that many of the things that he says to her are lies and covered it in a blanket or a mask. He's not who he says he is. So when he ditches everything of hers and holds her captive on the road, there's nothing that she can do except give in to his twisted delusional fantasy and try to keep herself alive, because he creates this whole made up world for them to live in. And he's like, oh, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have babies, we're running away together. And she's like, what the hell? So she has to live in it and survive as long as she could. I really enjoyed the spin of this book because it was very whoa. The story has a lot of suspense overall. You see some things coming, in the very beginning. You the reader knows her boyfriend is the killer, but you see Katie start to see some red flags here and there, but most people, she ignores them because she thinks that the best of people and all this stuff. And then yeah, but you see the main character struggling internally, and then also again like with the relationship, because there was no like major like red flags like until the road trip, and then was so good. I thought that the suspense and the mystery was really well written, and I'm a big fan of the backstory that was created for both the characters. So I did want to talk about it a little bit. So they start their road trip together, and she, on like the first day, she ends up losing her phone, and she's like, okay, that's weird, but I'll find it. She walks in on Trevor in the bathroom while he is doing inappropriate things, and she ends up like going next door to a diner. He gets super frustrated about it and tells her to never leave again, while he, like, you know, don't interrupt his privacy, but don't ever leave again. On day 2, she realizes that her wallet's missing, and she's like, what the hell is going on? And he's acting super strange. So then we start to see, like, okay, her phone's gone, her wallet's missing. Then he takes her bag of clothes. She's going through his bag trying to find her phone, and he gets all pissed off at her. He's like changing their cars. He's just telling her that he's in trouble with the law. And she kind of has this suspicion that he might be the Cincinnati Strangler, because she is a blonde substitute teacher. But she lived in an apartment while the Strangler killed women that would live in a home. It was a lot easier for them to be targeted, and he didn't like the word stalk. He could learn their patterns better. So they are on this road trip, and it's not correct. I don't know if that's the right word. It's just not what she thought it would be. So they end up, like, it's like day 3, and she kind of ends up like basically figuring out who he is, and he is so hell-bent on her like just being only for him. He starts talking a little bit about his backstory. We learn that like his mother basically kept him hidden away. He didn't go to public school. He didn't go to school at all. He was homeschooled. He was not allowed to have friends. When people would come over, he had to hide his toys. His mother was like embarrassed and ashamed to be like a mom, because she was younger without, you know, a husband, because it was like a one-night stand hookup type thing. And like we learned that here and there, when they would go out in public, very infrequently, he didn't get many social skills, so he's kind of antisocial and a little bit awkward. And when you dive a little deeper, we learned that his mother was a blonde school teacher, so like that's where the targets come from. There's no record of him. He doesn't have a social security number. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He's not like in any database. He doesn't have like fingerprints, nothing, because basically the man does not exist. And he tells her all this, and she feels very sad for him, because she's like, wow, like, you've had a terrible life, but you're also making terrible decisions. So she kind of has to struggle with that internally, where she's like, a part of her wants to feel bad for him because he did have a rough childhood. He does have a rough life. He doesn't basically exist. He's very invisible to like everybody. But at the same time, she like learns that like not everything's okay. Something I thought was super interesting that they didn't really go over a lot in the book, but I liked that when they first met, they met when she was at a student's basketball game on a Friday night. She went to go support her students, and he was there, and he was like, oh, my nephew plays for the other team. And then halfway through their drive, he tells her like, oh yeah, I don't have any siblings, and my mom didn't have any siblings. I don't know who my dad is. Like, I basically have no family. And I think that's so interesting, because she kind of glances over it. She's like, oh, well, he was there to watch his nephew play. And that was something I was like, I don't know why that one stuck with me, but it's something I was like, oh my gosh, like, he literally just went and creeped out at like basketball games looking for women that he could target. So he ends up falling like madly in love with Katie, right? Like, he decides he's not going to kill her. He's like, I'm in love with her. We're going to get married. We're running away to Mexico. Originally, his plan was to take them to Vegas. Originally, he was going to go to Vegas. They're going to get married at like one of those like run-through chapel things. But he decides when the police are starting to, you know, get on him a little more, that they're going to go to Mexico, because he can get out of the country that way. He cuts Katie's hair. He always is wearing sunglasses, makes her look different. The police start catching on, and Katie does what anyone would try to do, is the 2 people she's able to talk to. So she's in the car with him, telling him that she loves him, telling him all this XYZ and that he's a great person. He doesn't mean it. Like, she's there for him. She's in love with him. They're running away together. Everything that he wants to hear. And then the two people that she actually is able to, like, talk to, she's like, please help me. Like, please get somebody out here. And they're like, oh, and she, like, doesn't really explain a lot, but she's more just like, hey, you need to call the police, basically. The lady that she runs into the convenience store with, as he's like standing out there watching her, she's like getting a soda and she's like, yeah, please call the police. Like, my name is Katie and we're headed south and I'm in a black Mazda car. Like, please help me. And then when they check into the hotel, she's like signing the paper and she's like, oh yeah, like call 911. Like, stuff that like you probably should do. And then, you know, the last couple chapters are about the trial. Like, he obviously gets caught and arrested. He was going to murder Katie. And he like, then he also talks about how, like, she goes and sees him in jail and he answers some of her questions. And basically he was like, I was going to kill you, but I would have regretted it my whole life. And she's like, well, good thing you didn't kill me. But overall, I thought the book was really good. It gave me kind of like chills. I was reading it last night and it was late. So I was like in my house, it's like all dark. And I was like, and I was, oh my goodness. I really enjoyed this book. Overall, I would say 4 out of 5 stars, which is not bad at all. That's a really good rating. And my favorite quote is from when they're sitting there and she's like, I can't find my phone. And she kind of knows what's going on, but like he doesn't really want to say anything. So she's like, I can't find my phone. I don't know where my wallet is. And he like looks at her dead in the eye and he's like, cut the crap, Katie. We both know I took your phone. We both know I took your wallet. Like, that gave me chills reading that. I was like, oh my God. Like, he just like literally in the middle of like what they were doing was like, just cut it. Like, cut the crap. Like, we both know what happened. Because like she was out here trying to pretend like, yeah. And then he also continues on. She had like no choice but to like kind of cooperate with him at that point. But I thought it was so interesting. So yeah, Fear by Kathy Merman. I'm a big fan. I kind of want to go pick up another book. I definitely am going to try to read more local authors. If anybody that watches my videos decides that they like want me to read their book, send me a message, an email, a DM, a pigeon, whatever, and I'll read it. Like, I'll read the books. I will probably not read it as fast as I did this one. I just got home last night. I was like, kind of a short book. I'm gonna sit down, read half of it. I'll read half of it the next day. I just sat down and read the whole thing last night. It took me about 3 hours to do. Really enjoyed it, liked it a lot. But yeah, so that's it for Fear. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Goodreads. This is going to be the first review on Goodreads for this particular book, which makes me kind of like nervous. Like, that's like, oh my gosh, like I'm setting the standard and the precedent. But yeah, all that's linked below. And then also make sure you follow my Instagram as well. And that is it for now. And until, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, bye.